Heard anything. So we didn't have a shoot around, so I didn't, haven't seen anything.
Well, what do you think of Steph's GM skills there?
I have no idea. I haven't seen the team. I'll be in Hawaii. You guys can write about it. I'll tell you all about Hawaii when I get back.
Zaza's playing and have done that as well. How do you keep these guys healthy and happy for these kind of careers?
Well, it's not anything we do. It's everything that they have done over the course of their respective careers. The conditioning, the preparation, the awareness of what it means to be a professional. It's one of the great things about having those guys on the team. You know, we've got a nice mix of youth and veteran leadership. Obviously, our all-stars are kind of right in their primes, but I love the dynamic that we have with David and Zaza and Andre and Sean. Just that veteran mentoring and leadership. And when a guy comes to work every day, and the other players know he's played 1,000 games, and you see the commitment, day-to-day commitment to conditioning and preparation, sets a great tone for the team.
Who's the loudest mentor out of those three? Who lets everybody know that he's
The loudest mentor.
He's the guy.
Maybe that's why they're all really good mentors. They're all very quiet. They only speak when they have something important to say, and they do it in a really good manner.
Steve, to follow up on Mark's question, so Durant's on LeBron's team, and Steph got Draymond and Clay on his team. Was there any interaction? LeBron was saying his teammates were in his ear the last few days. Was there any interaction with you guys and Steph about who he should pick or how he should go about it?
Not with me. So I don't know. I'm sure they talked about it. The players probably talked about it amongst themselves, but not with me.
Steve, Kevin Durant was really apologetic and humble for the comments he made the other night about the officiating. What did you think of the way he handled that situation and took responsibility?
I'm proud of him for apologizing and admitting that he was wrong. It's not something that you should say. You know, we all snap during games, myself included. It's a passionate, heated game, and you get upset, and that happens. But once the game ends, you've got to leave it there. And if you have anything to say to the league, you can say it behind the scenes, but you don't say it through the media. And Kevin knows that, and he apologized. And I thought it was great that the referee union immediately accepted the apology, and now we move on.
Did the apology really or can you talk to me about that?
I never said a word about an apology. We talked a little bit about what happened, that night. But the apology came from him.
Talking to David a little bit west yesterday, you talked about how that second unit offense maybe has changed a little bit. A lot of movement maybe with Ian last season. It's a little different now. Is that something that's been designed? Is something that just happened naturally? And how much now is the focus on him scoring with that unit?
I think we're running basically the same stuff. It probably looks a little different because Ian was a tremendous cutter, and so we probably got more backdoor layups and that kind of stuff. But we're not running different stuff. We're still running things through David. It's one of the great benefits of having him on our roster is that we go from an offense in the first quarter that is totally built around Steph and Draymond and KD and high screens and ball movement, and then all of a sudden we throw it into the low block over and over again, which is a totally different look. And David's a tremendous passer. Maybe the biggest difference from last year is that David's really scoring at a high rate and knocking down that jump shot. And but he gives us a different look, and it's really a luxury for us.
Last week, Kevin Durant hit 20,000 points. Stephen Curry's a couple points away from 14,000. But he's done it all here, and he's going to join some very elite company, Chris Mullin, Will Chamberlain. What does he mean to this franchise in particular, Steph?
Well, that's both a difficult question to answer and an easy one, depending on how you look at it. In many ways, Steph is our franchise. I think when people think of the Warriors, they think of Steph. We've got 4 All-Stars, and we've got tremendous talent and great players, an amazing PR guy, Raymond Ritter. But what people really think about is Steph Curry. That's the first thought. You travel around the world, you say Golden State Warriors, people say Steph Curry. And I think he also embodies what we are about in terms of the style of play and the joy with which our players play the game. And everybody connects to Steph. Fans out there, kids. When I was in Phoenix as a general manager, we were desperate to get Steph in the draft. And one of our thoughts in the front office was, all the little kids in the Valley in Phoenix are wearing Steve Nash jerseys, but we need the next player who can be that player who the kids are going to buy the jerseys of. And I kept envisioning these Steph Curry Suns jerseys all over Scottsdale and Phoenix, and he had something about him coming out of college that you knew, nobody knew he was going to be an MVP, but you could tell people would connect with him because he looks, like you or me, or he's just a normal-looking guy, and yet he's got this electric skill and amazing personality, and so throw all that stuff together, and he's the face of the franchise.
You're friendly with Pete Carroll. I was just wondering, have you studied coaches from other sports, and if so, have you studied a guy like Belichick, and it's fairly marveled at what he's been able to get his teams to execute year after year?
I have. I've never met Bill. I've admired him from afar. I met with Bill Parcells before I took the Warriors job. I tried to meet with as many coaches as I could. Pete was the one I connected with because I felt like he and I were the most alike. I'm nothing like Belichick. And we don't operate the same way at all. But I have tremendous respect for him. Amazing run, and everybody has to do it their own way. That's what every coach that I met with before I began coaching, when I asked their advice, they all said the same thing: be yourself. You can't come in and try to be somebody else. And if you are yourself, your players will feel that genuine dynamic of what you're doing, and then you can be honest and coach them, and they're going to know your word is good and true. So we're all different people. We all have to have our own coaching styles, but I'm like everybody else. I marvel at what the Patriots have done.
Does it surprise you at all that Belichick is one of the big influences for Tibbs?
For Tibbs? Yeah. No, not in the slightest.
Coach, have you got a chance to see tonight's jersey, the new jersey, and what do you think of?
I have not seen it yet, actually. I heard about it when I walked in, and but when I see the players wearing them, that'll be my first look at it.
Steve, I'm just curious, having watched and played against the Timberwolves so many times, going back to China this year, what do you think the biggest difference is with Butler on this team now compared to where they were at a year ago?
Well, I see a difference now from 2 months ago when we saw them with Jimmy. I think it's like when any player moves to a new team, any star player moves to a new team, it takes a little while, just like it did with Kevin last year with us. And I think with Jimmy, he was sort of maybe trying to fit in first couple of months of the season, and now looking at him on tape, he's kind of taken the reins and dictated a lot of what they're doing, and feels very confident and comfortable doing it. So it's a natural progression for that team to be coming together now.
Steve, kind of building off that earlier question about Steph, when you did take over this job, did it kind of feel like you're getting a second chance to work with Steph, and how exciting was that?
Well, what was exciting was, by the time I got here, he was already an all-star, and he had really developed over the previous couple of seasons, and he had stayed healthy, so you could see he was on his way, and he was already there, and but entering his prime, and as a coach, and as an observer of the NBA and somebody who played in the NBA for a long time, I knew if you want to be any good, you got to have somebody to build around it, not just a player but a person to build around it. And I knew before I even really spent much time with him that Steph was a cornerstone player, but also a foundational human being for a franchise. And so I knew what I was getting, and yet he still exceeded all expectations.
I know you said you had to learn sort of proud of you yourself or your own coaching style, but you played under two of the great coaches, NBA coaches of all time, Pop and Phil Jackson. Are there certain pieces of their styles that you've incorporated into yours?
Oh yeah, of course. I think we're all a product of our environment, and not just coaches, but parents, and friends and teammates, and you just pick things up as you go on through life, and then it sort of forms who you are. And so for me, I was unbelievably lucky to play for Hall of Fame coaches, not just Phil and Pop, but Lute Olson, Cotton Fitzsimmons, Lenny Wilkins, amazing coaches, and very different, all very different from one another. But I took a little something from all of them, and they've all helped me figure out what I'm doing, and it's been incredibly fortunate for me to have the path that I've had and to have played for all of those men.
Great.
Thanks.
We appreciate that. We'll have to go with 6:15.